At my daughter's wedding, I fell when he pulled out a chair. The shocking truth revealed. The air was thick with excitement and nerves, the kind that prickled your skin as the vows hung in the air, promising endless love. The grand hall sparkled under twinkling lights, laughter dancing from table to table, but something darker lurked beneath the cheerful surface. Just moments before the ceremony began, I saw it, a shadow gliding through the crowd, slipping past the ivory decorations like a ghost. My heart raced. Who was it? Why did they look so familiar yet so wrong? As I tried to shake the feeling of unease, I felt his presence beside me, my son-in-law, his face suddenly twisted with a maniacal grin. "You're going to want to watch this," he whispered ominously. I thought it was just nerves. Every wedding has its oddities, right? But then, as the crowd hushed and my daughter took her first step down the aisle, he yanked the chair from behind me. I stumbled, arms flailing, a sickening thud echoing through the room as I hit the floor. Gasps filled the air. Was this a prank? A cruel joke at my daughter's big moment? But the laughter didn't come. Instead, the energy shifted. Eyes widened in shock, whispers erupted. Did you see that? What was he thinking? My world spun, a whirlwind of humiliation and confusion, but something deeper struck me. I glanced up at my daughter's face, frozen in horror, and the shadow floated again in my peripheral vision, now closer, now urgent. My chest tightened. My breath quickened. Who was really behind that evil grin? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The festivity transformed into a horror show. Whispers turned into gasps again as I finally pulled myself up. Panic flickered across the faces around me. Why did my son-in-law smirk instead of helping? The clattering from the kitchen grew louder, frantic. Was someone else in danger? As I rushed to my feet, heart racing, I locked eyes with a woman in the back, her face pale, mirroring my sense of dread. There was something she knew, something she had seen that I diverted my attention to the ceremony, but it felt tainted now. The energy was off. The music stuttered, almost as if the instruments couldn't bear to play on. And then, in a chilling moment, the lights flickered. Breath hitched in my throat. What was happening? With every glance, I felt that shadow lurking, teasing at the edges of my vision. Would anyone see it? Would anyone believe me if I screamed? What dark secret was about to unravel? And just as my heart settled on fear, a child's shrill laugh sliced through the tension, a sinister note in the midst of what should have been joy. "Mommy! Look behind you!" In that moment, every muscle tightened, every heart froze, because we knew the real nightmare had just begun. What was lurking behind me that made that little girl scream? What was waiting to be revealed? The air grew tense, a thick veil of dread blanketing the once joyous atmosphere. Guests licked their lips nervously, eyes darting around as they tried to make sense of what just happened. I could feel my heart pounding in rhythm with the thundering silence that followed the child's scream. Time stretched like an elastic band, each second pulling taut before snapping back. I whipped around, desperation clawing at my insides. Behind me, nestled between the crowded tables, stand a figure cloaked in shadows. Their features blurred, obscured by the flickering lights. My breath caught, and instinctively, I took a step back. A chill swept through me, wrapping around my spine like icy fingers. Had I seen this person before? The memory danced out of reach, just as I was about to grasp it. "Mommy! The bad man!" The child cried again, her voice shrill and panicked. I turned back to look at my daughter, whose face was ghostly pale. Tears welled in her eyes as she locked gazes with me, confusion and terror swirling in her expression. The wedding gown, so pristine and beautiful moments earlier, now felt like a shroud rather than a celebration of love. The murmurs intensified around us. I could hear snippets of urgent conversations, fragments of sentences that danced uncomfortably close to the truth. Must be a joke, right? He didn't mean to. What's wrong with her? But those whispers didn't reach me, didn't penetrate the bubble of panic encasing my mind. I scanned the crowd, seeking comfort or an ally, but instead, I found more fearful faces. My eyes landed on my son-in-law once more. He stood with arms crossed, that wicked grin still plastered on his face, as if he reveled in the chaos that was unraveling. In an impulse driven by instinct rather than logic, I took a step towards him. "What did you do?" I demanded, my voice low but seething with rage. He merely shrugged, the action almost casual, as if this was all part of some sick game. As I approached, the lights above us flickered angrily, casting long shadows that slithered across the floor. And then I heard it, a low, almost imperceptible whisper crawling through the tension. "She shouldn't have come." What? Who was they talking about? My gut churned, a sickening feeling combining dread and confusion. I felt compelled to confront the figure in the back, to draw them out of hiding and reveal their intentions. But just as I prepared to take a step forward, another crash erupted from behind me, glass shattering, screams erupting. I whirled around, heart pounding. Panic swept through the room, like a tide threatening to drown us all. Some guests stumbled back, hands instinctively flying to their mouths, while others dashed for the exits. In that fray, I lost sight of the cloaked figure. They could be gone, or worse, closer than I imagined. The child, still shaking, pointed dramatically. "He's right there." My heart dropped as I scanned the crowd frantically. There it was again, that familiar shadow lurking just beyond reach. My mind raced. What evil had embedded itself in our celebration? And then it all hit me, the warning signs, the eerie changes, everything that had gone wrong. My daughter was in danger, and I needed to protect her. But from what, or whom? The moment stretched, silence crashing down once more. Just as I turned to grab my daughter's hand, the lights dimmed completely. Everything went dark. A sudden surge of bright, blinding light flared back on, only, it revealed the hall abandoned. The chairs lay overturned, tables scattered, and the once jubilant guests had vanished. Except for one. Right in front of me stood my son-in-law, the maniacal grin now replaced with a steely gaze. "Looks like it's just you and me now." What had he unleashed? What had the darkness consumed? I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But my feet felt cemented to the ground as I stared into the cold eyes of my son-in-law, the shadows twisting between us like a bad dream. "Where is everyone?" My voice trembled, barely a whisper, as if saying it too loudly would make the horror more real. He chuckled, the sound eerie in the empty hall, echoing off the walls like an old horror film. "They've gone to enjoy the real celebration, away from the distraction." His lips curled into that twisted smile again, and I fought an overwhelming need to recoil. The darkness around me twisted into grotesque shapes, and panic surged through me. Time felt warped, like I was underwater, struggling to reach the surface. Where was my daughter? Had he done something to her too? I felt desperate, clawing at my memories of her laughter just moments ago, the bright joy of the day overshadowed by this sinister shadow. "What did you do? Where's Emily?" I demanded, but my heart raced with fear that I might already know the answer. He stepped closer, eyes glinting like knives. "Oh, she's just fine if she's on the right side of things. But me? I'm the one who can decide what happens next." A shiver of dread snaked down my spine. His words hung heavy in the air, thick with malicious intent. I took a step back, trying to gain my composure, my instinct screaming at me. The flickering light seemed to dim even further, drowning us in shades of gray. I scanned the hall, searching for something, anything that could help an exit, a weapon, maybe even a sleeping guest. But I was alone, suffocated in unsettling stillness, the echoes of my heartbeat resonating against the silence. "Let her go!" I yelled, adrenaline surging through my veins as I pushed past my fear. "She doesn't have anything to do with your sick game." He raised an eyebrow, the grin slipping back into place, almost mocking my desperation. "Oh, but that's where you're wrong. She's the perfect piece on my board." In that instant, something in my memory flickered to life, the whispers, the warnings. She shouldn't have come. A sudden weight settled upon my chest. I had to find her. My daughter was the one at the center of this twisted affair, but where? "Emily!" I screamed, my voice cracking, and the sound bounced off the bare walls, hauntingly empty. A surge of resolve propelled me forward. I wouldn't let him win. I noticed a flicker of movement in the shadows near the back of the hall. The cloaked figure had returned, tightening my chest with every heartbeat. This time, I wouldn't let fear bind me. I rushed toward the figure, drawing on all my strength. "What do you want? What have you done?" As I reached out, the figure moved, revealing a face illuminated in harsh brightness, a face I recognized. Just as I opened my mouth to speak, a loud bang erupted, and the room shook. I was thrown backward, landing hard on the cracked marble floor. Stars exploded in my vision. Suddenly, silence fell again, and I fought to catch my breath. I blinked rapidly, trying to focus. The shadows shifted, and the cloaked figure began to dissolve into the darkness, leaving only a faint whisper, "You can't protect her. It's already begun what had begun." I clutched the floor, panic clawing at my throat. The emptiness around me was suffocating. I had to find Emily before whatever scheme had unfolded enveloped her too. As I dragged myself upright, every sound vibrated through my bones. I was alone, yet I could feel eyes upon me. My thoughts spiraled into a whirlpool of dread. I could not wait. I had to act, now. Where was she? I crept through the empty hall, the shadows seeming to shift and pulse, echoing the anxiety twisting in my gut. Each echo felt like a whisper, feeding off my fear. The door loomed ahead, the only barrier that separated me from the chaos beyond. I felt a pull, a compulsion to push through, knowing whatever awaited on the other side held the key to my daughter's fate. Did I have the courage to face it? Just as I steeled myself to sprint for freedom, something grabbed my shoulder cold and strong that I spun around, and my breath caught in my throat again as I came face to face with a familiar shadow. "You thought you could run?" What did he mean? What other dark secrets did my son-in-law hide? The answers would shatter my world. I staggered back, the icy grip of his hand on my shoulder anchoring me in place. My pulse raced, a drumbeat matching the chaotic rhythm of the moment. "What do you want from me?" I stammered, my voice trembling but edged with defiance. That he stepped closer, too close, and the stench of sweat and something metallic clung to him like a second skin. "It's not what I want from you. It's what I want from her." His words slithered into my mind, igniting new fears. Emily, the name slipped from my lips, a prayer tinged with desperation. "What have you done?" His eyes glinted, betraying a twisted pleasure in my suffering. "You see, every wedding has its sacrifices, and today is no different." A chill washed over me, colder than the hard marble beneath my feet. Sacrifices? My heart thundered against my chest. I thought of the old stories, how some traditions hidden in folklore crept into the shadows. Was that what he was alluding to? I was running out of time. "Where is Emily?" I shouted, grounding my voice with fierce determination. "Follow the screams," he replied, his smile widening as he stepped back, letting go of my shoulder. He turned away, gliding into the darkness as if he were made of shadows himself. The very atmosphere felt tainted, each breath I took laced with unbearable tension that I didn't have to think. My instincts kicked in. I needed to keep moving. The sudden thought of Emily alone, trapped, maybe in pain propelled me forward. I burst through the door he had just left, plunging into a side hall lit by flickering lights. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding, and every footstep echoed, hammering the urgency into my soul. I pressed on, my mind racing through possibilities. What kind of twisted game was he playing? I rounded a corner, and the noise hit me faint. Agonized cries reverberated through the walls, like the sound of a tortured spirit. I paused, listening harder, every nerve ending alive with dread. It was definitely Emily. I would recognize her scream anywhere. My heart splintered at the thought of her fear. Emily! I yelled, finding courage in her name as I sprinted toward the sound. As I dashed down the dim corridor, the wall seemed to constrict around me, shadows closing in, dragging me back into their cold embrace. Why did it feel like the walls were alive, the darkness bending toward and mocking my pursuit? Another scream erupted, more visceral this time, and I stumbled as if someone had punched me in the gut. I couldn't let her down. I'm coming. With every ounce of strength, I pushed through, arriving at a door that seemed to vibrate with energy. It was locked, the cold handle unyielding beneath my grasp. I kicked it with all my might, the sound echoing like thunder, but the door remained resolute. Emily! I pounded on the door again, willing it to give. In the back of my mind, I could hear my son's voice gloating, laughing. Do you really think you can save her? He taunted from somewhere beyond the door. You couldn't even protect her from marrying the monster. He was right, the weight of guilt crushing my chest. But I couldn't crumble. Not now. Desperation clawed at my throat as I twisted the handle again, praying for a miracle. Just then, I heard it, the faint sound mixing with Emily's cries that made my blood run cold. It was a chant, a ritualistic noise that seemed to crescendo, pulling with gravity like a siren's call. It wasn't time just yet to give in to despair. I stepped back and rammed into the door with all my weight. The door burst open, splintering wood flying, and I charged into a scene of chaos. But it was the sight before me that froze my blood. Why was the room flooded with pictures? Faces of people I knew, faces of friends and family, all twisted into grotesque grimaces. And there in the center stood Emily, bound and gagged, surrounded by a group dressed in black robes, their hands raised, chanting in a language I couldn't understand. What have you done? My voice cracked, the raw horror spilling over like a river's flood. And then, the most unimaginable thing happened. A bright light enveloped Emily, a shimmering barrier separating her from the chaos. Every instinct in me screamed to save her, but I felt a force pull me back. What power was at play here? The cultists turned to me together, eyes flashing with a mix of anger and anticipation. Join us, they intoned, their voices united in a haunting harmony. Help us complete the ritual or suffer the consequences. Fear and shock paralyzed me, and I stood there, heart pounding, knowing this was only the beginning. What was this dark path I had ventured into? Would I save my daughter, or fall victim to something much darker? The shadows swirled, ushering in an impending doom as I realized, the night wasn't over yet. The room pulsed with a heavy, sinister energy, the flickering lights casting erratic shadows that danced dangerously close. Emily's cries pierced the air, wrapping around me like a vice. I could barely breathe. Help us complete the ritual, the words echoed, chilling me to the bone. My body felt like stone, cemented in fear, yet how could I just stand there? The cultists, dressed in their dark robes, moved in a synchronized, unsettling rhythm. What kind of madness had I stumbled upon? I fought against the invisible grip holding me back, pushing past the horror to focus solely on Emily. I could see her fear. I could feel her desperation. Before I could force myself to move, their leader, a figure with a hood obscuring his face, stepped forward. He raised a dagger high above his head, the blade glinting menacingly in the dim light. Your daughter is to be the vessel. he declared, the eagerness in his voice sending a jolt of adrenaline through me. I didn't know what they planned to do to her, but every fiber of my being screamed for action. Let her go. I roared, my voice cracking as if the walls themselves might break at my command. Emily. Fight. I'm here. Her eyes searched mine, wide with terror, but there was something else lurking in their depths: hope. It flickered like the dying flame of a candle, and I knew that if I didn't act soon, it would extinguish. The cultists were moving, chanting louder, the melody a malevolent force that wound around the room, tightening like a noose. I charged forward, ignoring the sharp pain from my previous charge through the door, fueled entirely by the need to protect my girl. Stop this! I yelled, racing toward the altar-like space in the center where they had her tied. With every step, the shadows seemed to stretch, fighting to drag me back into their tangled embrace. I neared but felt an unbearable weight pressing down, like gravity was turning against me. It was the barrier, a shimmering force field pulsing in tandem with Emily's cries. I couldn't just crash into it, there had to be another way. Emily, hold on. I shouted. Focus on my voice. Picture our home. Picture us together. Her eyes locked onto mine, searching for reassurance that was waning. The sound of her name hung in the air, threaded with a fragile hope. The dagger descended. Time slowed. I lunged to the side, reaching for the robed figure closest to me. I seized the fabric of his robe, pulling him down sharply. He stumbled, the dagger no longer aimed at Emily. The cultists shifted, glancing back, confusion flaring in their eyes. Stay away from her. I shouted again, feeling the surge of betrayal, of anger, amplifying every heartbeat. The cult leader turned with a furious gaze. You think you can disrupt the calling? He hissed, his voice venomous. This is bigger than you, bigger than all of us. Suddenly, Emily's voice echoed above the chaos, chanting back in that unfamiliar language. My heart raced. Was she joining them? No. That couldn't be. Emily, no. I yelled, fighting against the pulsating barrier. The moment stretched, and panic gripped me. Had they taken her spirit? Would she become one of them? With a ferocity that surprised me, I ripped free the cultist's dagger from his grasp, a blade forged for a horrible purpose. I swung it at the barrier, hoping against hope that I could shatter whatever dark force restrained her. A blinding flash exploded as the dagger made contact, sending shockwaves through the room. The chanting faltered suddenly, fear replacing confidence in the cultists' faces. Then I saw it, the shimmering barrier flickered. This was my chance. As I stared at Emily, the bond between us ignited, my heart screamed for her to come back to me. But just as I lunged toward the light enveloping her, a piercing scream erupted from the crowd of cultists, filled with dread and fury. No! You cannot stop this! Their leader bellowed, as shadows warped, twirling violently. What had I done? Or had I only made things worse? The room dissolved into chaos, and I charged forward, desperate to break through, knowing I was racing against time and a deepening darkness. Suddenly, a vision of my son flashed in my mind, a hidden truth buried deep. What was his connection to this madness? With new determination, I pressed forward into the fray. Could I rescue Emily before it was too late? Or was I about to awaken something that should never see the light of day? The blinding light from the dagger's impact illuminated the room, casting every shadow against the walls like dark, twisted forms reaching out. My heart raced as I surged toward Emily's flickering outline. If I could just break through, if I could just reach my little girl, yet the cult leader stepped forward, fury blazing behind the thickness of his hood. What have you done? He shrieked, his voice brimming with panic and anger. The other cultists fumbled, their chanting faltering, confusion rippling through their ranks. The air was electric, buzzing with energy, and I could hear Emily's cries entwining with my heartbeat. I needed more than desire, I needed to understand this dark force that held her captive. I could still hear her chanting, echoing strangely around me, and I realized she wasn't just participating, she was fighting back somehow. With newfound resolve, I raised the dagger high, my grip steady as I focused on the barrier. The shimmering force felt alive, pulsating with every conflicting emotion: fear, rage, defiance. As I brought the blade down again against its surface, it crackled and began to shimmer like a failing star. "Emily! Keep fighting!" I shouted, praying she could hear me. I could feel the warmth of her spirit battling against the icy grip of the cultists. As I pressed harder against the barrier, the room trembled. The chants grew in intensity, like a hurricane brewing. A heavy weight coiled in my stomach. What if this wasn't just a rescue but a catalyst for something far worse? The head cultist lifted his arms, the remaining followers flanked him, chanting a discordant hymn. The sounds clashed, a cacophony swirling through me, and I stumbled. Each shriek tore through my mind like daggers, driving deeper the sense of impending doom. Suddenly, Emily's voice broke through the dissonance. "Dad! Help me!" Her eyes, wide with a mixture of dread and determination, bore into mine. In that moment, something clicked. "Your son!" I shouted back, a revelation crashing over me. "What do you want from him?" It was the only connection I could find to turn their ritual off course, hoping to disrupt whatever malevolent design they had planned. The cult leader's expression shifted, caught off guard. "You know nothing," he spat, but the tremor in his voice told a different story. I pressed forward, emboldened by Emily's plea. "This is about control, isn't it? You need his power, his innocence. But you won't take her." The air crackled once more. The barrier wavered, flickering like a failing bulb. With a primal scream, I plunged the dagger down again, aiming not just to shatter the barrier, but to obliterate the dark hold these cultists had over my family. Then came a terrifying shriek, a sound unlike anything I'd heard before. The shadows warped, twisting into a vortex that threatened to consume everything. The cultists recoiled, their chants replaced by gasps of horror. I saw realization dawn on their faces, fear, uncertainty wrestling with their fervor. Maybe I had thrown them off balance just enough to give Emily the chance she needed. "Emily, come to me!" I called, renewed hope ringing through my chest. But as she hesitated, the shadows spiraled, the room felt like it might tear apart at the seams. "Get him!" shouted the leader, his authority lost in the chaos. Instinctively, the cloaked figures began to rush me, but I couldn't focus on them. I had to focus on Emily. Now! Emily! Break free! But a pause hung in the air like a knife's edge. Just as I thought hope would rise, the shadows surged forward, reaching for Emily, ensnaring her. Panic seized me. I had to end this now before it consumed everything I loved. In a desperate lunge, I broke through the barrier unexpectedly, slashing at the shadows, but the energy felt like it was pulling me in. I fought against it as Emily cried out again. Time felt suspended, and I was about to know the truth of this madness. Was the darkness the end? Or the beginning of something terrible? Just as the shadows began to close around my daughter, the world fractured around us, and I felt myself teetering on the brink of oblivion. The moment the shadows tightened around Emily, reality dissipated like fog under a rising sun. My body felt weightless, caught in an ethereal limbo that both terrified and exhilarated me. The dagger slipped from my grasp, clattering to the ground as I reached desperately for her. Each heartbeat thundered in my ears, drowning out the panicked whispers of my surroundings. "Hold on, Emily!" I screamed, my voice a frantic gust in the chaos. But the shadows coiling around her pulsed with a life of their own, dark, slick, and steely. I lunged forward, fighting against the gravitational pull of despair. As the world melted and reshaped itself around us, Emily's form flickered, her vibrant spirit trapped within a black whirlpool of malevolence. The cultists, paralyzed in horror, stared as if caught in a trance. Their power had waned, and for the first time, I could see the cracks in their facade of control. "Fight, baby. You're stronger than they are," I shouted, but the words felt flimsy against the monstrous gravity trying to snatch her away. A spectral voice echoed through the hazy expanse. "Father," it was Emily, her plea cutting through the chaos, threading despair with resolve. Her image flickered momentarily, revealing the fierce determination in her eyes, but the shadows fought back, snaring her further. I could almost taste the desperation in the air, burning and bitter. I closed my eyes, summoning every ounce of love I held for her, my heart hammering in rhythm with the symphony of our shared struggle. The shadows twisted tighter around her, but she fought for breath, dragging strength from somewhere deep within her core. "Remember our secret, Em," I cried, the memory of our whispered moments, the fragments of innocence we had woven together in times of peace. And then an explosion of color illuminated the room. The dagger. It lay a few feet away, a beacon of hope that pulsed with energy, drawing me toward it as if it sensed my urgency. I dove for it, feeling the air thrum with renewed power. The moment my fingers clasped around the hilt, a surge of warmth enveloped me, charging my limbs like a jolt of electricity. "I won to lose you," I shouted, rising to face the whirling shadows again, this time with a fervor that spilled from my veins. I clenched the dagger, its blade glowing fiercely as I stepped toward the swirling mass, emboldened. "Let her go," I roared. With every ounce of strength I had left, I slashed at the swirling darkness. The dagger connected with the shadows, and a shockwave rippled through the room. Like pulling the string on a tightly wound puppet, the shadows recoiled at the contact, thin tendrils unraveling from around Emily. Suddenly, she was free but not entirely. The shadows twitched and writhed, as if wounded, clawing back for her. The leader of the cult screamed, face contorted with fury and desperation as if proof of his impending defeat hung in the air. "Fools! You don't understand the power at play," he bellowed, but I blocked him out. "I couldn't waver now. Emily!" I yelled, and she blinked, her eyes shimmering like stars emerging from a storm. She surged forward, and I could see her spirit breaking through the darkness as defiance and strength converged, but then, suddenly, a darkness brighter than the shadows loomed. Something behind the cult leader shifted ominously. A deep rumble resonated, echoing against the walls, growing louder, vibrating through the floor. My heart quaked. Was this dark force something more profound? Just as I reached for Emily, the world around us split and twisted again, erupting into a storm of chaos as blood-curdling screams shattered the air. And that's when I saw him, the mysterious figure behind the cult leader, stepping out from the darkness, eyes gleaming with an ancient hunger. In that moment, dread washed over me like ice water. What had I awakened? What did this new figure want? As I stood there, dagger in hand, I knew one thing: we were far from safe, and the real nightmare was just beginning. The figure stepped forward, swathed in shadows that clung to him like a shroud. He moved with a predatory grace, the air around him thick with malice. My instincts kicked in, screaming for me to run, but I stood frozen, heart racing. His eyes, dark and fathomless, locked onto mine. "So you're the one who dared to challenge us?" His voice was smooth, cold, and filled with a sinister allure. "Leave her alone," I shouted, gripping the dagger tighter. Emily was behind me, panting and shaken, her form wavering at the edges. I could sense her fear, a palpable tremor in the air. The shadows still clawed at her, relentless, but now they seemed to sense a more potent threat from the figure before us. Pitiful, he threw back his head, laughing as if mocking our defiance. "Do you not see what I've come to reap? You're merely collateral in a greater game, one you'll never comprehend." His words slashed through the last thread of my resolve. Collateral? Emily was my daughter, not some pawn in his twisted chess match. But I couldn't allow anger to obscure my focus. "Stop!" Emily gasped, her voice breaking through the haze of despair. "You don't know what he is capable of." Before I could react, the figure raised a hand, dark energy swirling around him like an angry storm. The air grew heavy, and I felt every muscle in my body tighten in response. Your love cannot protect you. It only hastens your demise. He hissed, driving forward. The shadows surged forward, enveloping us in a chilling embrace. I struck out with the dagger, but the darkness pulled back as if it possessed a will of its own, dodging my strikes while dragging Emily with it. Fight it, Em, fight it. I urged, but despair clawed at her spirit. Then, from the depths of the shadows, a sharp tendril shot towards Emily, aiming for her heart. In that split second, everything moved in slow motion. It was as if fate had drawn a line her life or mine. With a scream that burst from my soul, I lunged to intercept, the dagger raised high, feeling the rush of adrenaline flood my veins. No! She screamed, but I felt the pull of sacrifice weaving its way through the chaos. Our bodies collided in a tangle of limbs just as the shadow's tendril hit, pain exploded through me, a white-hot fire searing my chest. I had meant to protect her, but instead, the darkness felt as if it had seeped into the very marrow of my bones. My vision blurred, I could see Emily's eyes wide with horror, glistening with unshed tears. Daddy! She cried, panic eclipsing her voice. The figure smirked, the shadows still roiling around me. See how easy it is to break the bonds of love? They are but whispers against my power. With effort, I managed to keep my grip on the dagger, drawing strength from the searing pain. I want to let you take her. We are stronger than your darkness. I screamed, feeling the warmth of the dagger pulse through me like a lifeline. The glow flickered wildly, as if responding to the battle raging inside. Suddenly, I felt a surge from Emily. She placed a hand on my chest, where the dark tendril had struck. Light ignited around her fingers, pushing against the darkness that had consumed me. I want to let you take him. In that moment of connection, I could feel her resolve radiate. The warmth spread from my heart, pushing back against the encroaching shadows, sending ripples of light cascading around us. The figure's expression darkened, surprise momentarily flickering across his face. But then he roared in rage, and the shadows convulsed, pulling tighter like a vice around my heart and lungs, threatening to extinguish the light we had just summoned. I glanced at Emily, knowing our time was limited. You have to trust me. I gasped, feeling the pressure mount. I didn't know if this would break his grip or shatter us both. Tell me what to do, Dad. She shouted, defiance igniting in her eyes. Just hold on and focus. We have to fight together. Just as we were about to merge our strength, an earth-shaking roar erupted from the figure. His power surged, overwhelming our light. What price will you pay, mortals? A sinister chill ran through me as his words hung in the air like a threat. What would we have to sacrifice to defeat him? Amidst the chaos, my fear coiled tighter. Did we truly stand a chance against the very essence of darkness itself? As the shadows lunged for Emily again, terror chilled my bones. But then something in me sparked a sliver of desperate hope. I tightened my grip on the dagger. Emily! Just as darkness closed in, I would either rise from the ashes or be consumed by the storm. But who would pay the price for our salvation? The answer evaded us as the shadows began to engulf us both. The shadows closed in like a mouth ready to swallow us whole. The crushing weight pressed against my chest, dark tendrils squeezing tighter around my heart, like icy fingers grasping for life. Stay strong, Em. I panted, desperate to keep her from succumbing. My voice cracked, fear thundering in my heartbeat. The dagger pulsed in my grasp, flickering between hope and despair. Emily's determination manifested in the glow surrounding her hand. I can't. I want to let you do this. She pulled with all her might, and for an instant, the shadows hesitated, as if recoiling from the very essence of her spirit. Join? The figure snarled. You think your petty bond can rival the chaos I command? I will teach you both the meaning of sacrifice. With a swift, fluid motion, he raised an arm, and shadows splintered, shooting towards Emily. I lunged again, the pain in my chest flaring as I moved, each breath labored. Close your eyes," I shouted, trying to shield her from the darkness. But Emily stood firm, eyes blazing with defiance. "No. I won't let you hurt him." Light erupted from her palm, cascading like an ethereal waterfall, almost blinding in its brilliance. It collided with the shadows, crackling like thunder, and for a moment, I believed we might actually push back against the abyss. Yet the figure laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down my spine. "You think light can fend off darkness? It only reveals the depths of your ignorance." His voice twisted, dripping with malice, as the shadows swirled faster, surrounding us in a vortex that was both enchanting and horrifying. Just then, the dagger in my hand flared, a sudden surge of warmth coursing through me. I felt a flicker of memories, a connection forged in moments of tenderness dancing in the living room, laughter over shared meals. These memories ignited an ancient fire within me, urging me to fight. "Together, I roared, the dagger held high. "We can't back down now." As if the universe listened, the light from Emily intensified, wrapping around my arms. I felt her strength fuse with mine, amplifying the energy pouring from the dagger. But the figure wasn't finished. He clenched his fists, shadows writhing, twisting into grotesque shapes. "Then let us see how far you are willing to go. What blood will you spill to save one another?" A bolt of electricity shot through the air. Darkness clashed against light, despair wrestled with hope. I could feel the strain, an unseen tug-of-war that threatened to consume us both. "Dad!" Emily yelled, her voice muffled in the chaos. "What do we do?" "Hold on." I pressed my forehead against hers, feeling the raw connection between us. "No matter what happens, we must not let him tear us apart." For a brief moment, time stood still. The figure's grin faltered as our combined light surged forward, expanding into a blinding glow. He staggered back, the darkness shaking violently, portraying his fear. "Not possible," he snarled. "You may have stolen a moment, but you will never overcome me." In a last-ditch effort, I gripped the dagger with all my might and yelled, "For Emily." The dagger released a burst of energy so fierce that it illuminated the night, igniting every shadow in a brilliant flash. Darkness screamed around us, twisting as if in agony, but the moment didn't last. With a deafening roar, everything went black. I felt the pull of consciousness slipping, shadows swallowing me whole, yet I held on to the tether of Emily's presence. "Daddy!" she cried, echoing in the void. Then nothing. Was this the end? Or a beginning twisted beyond recognition? In the silence, uncertainty hung heavy. I thought of Emily, my heart clawing for awareness as the shadows faded, leaving me shrouded in a darkness that felt cool and inviting, but also claustrophobic. What had we unleashed? The question loomed in the void, as a chilling realization set in: this battle was far from over, and the true cost of our fight was yet to be revealed. As darkness enveloped me, I felt weightless, suspended between realms. Memories flitted through my mind like the tender moments of a life well lived: my daughter's laughter, our shared meals, family gatherings where joy was thick in the air. I squeezed my eyes shut, reaching for those memories, grasping tightly to the warmth they provided. "Dad, where are you?" Emily's voice echoed in the void, a distant siren amidst the crushing silence. I focused, trying to tether myself to her, to that fleeting connection we had sparked in the darkest of moments. Could I pull us back from this endless night? Suddenly, brilliant light pierced the darkness, pulling me from my stupor. I gasped for breath as reality crashed back in around me, the hall reforming from the abyss. Shadows still loomed dimly, but something was different. The figures in dark robes were scattered, confusion etched on their faces. Manic energy crackled, and at the center, my daughter stood unfurling, gradually breaking free from the remnants of the darkness. "Emily!" I called, urgency driving me forward. The dagger pulsed in my hand, resonating with shared power, but the cult leader still stood defiantly. His grin faded, replaced with fury. You think you can disrupt what was always meant to be? You've merely delayed the inevitable. No. It's over. I shouted, my voice crackling with conviction. The shadows recoiled ever so slightly, sensing the uprising of our renewed strength. I charged toward Emily, who met me with defiance in her eyes, none of the fear that previously haunted her face. Together! She cried, holding her hand out to me as pulses of her energy radiated, merging with the light of the dagger. Our connection surged like a cyclone, drawing the scattered pieces of our lives into a steadfast force against the horrors before us. With Emily at my side, we lifted the dagger into the air, the light growing brighter. The shadows shrieked, twisting like trees caught in a tempest, frantically retreating from the brilliance of our combined spirit. I could feel the cult leader's fury morphing into panic as the air thickened with tension. You think love can conquer darkness? He spat, but doubt laced his voice. You don't understand the depth of this power. I lunged forward, throwing all my weight into the assault against the shadows, fueled by the memories of warmth and laughter shared with my daughter. You're wrong. I shouted as I plunged the blade into the center of the shadows, which disintegrated upon contact, exploding outward in a burst of purifying light. Within that maelstrom of power, I caught fleeting glimpses of my family and the life we'd built. Emily's face shone bright, and beneath the chaos, the shadows began to dissolve. No! The cult leader screamed, reaching out in futile desperation. You will pay for this rebuke. But we didn't waver. Together, we summoned the echoes of our love and defiance, the shared moments of our lives that gave strength to our fight. The remnants of darkness retreated, as if drawn back to a hidden abyss, leaving only the light behind. As the hall restored itself, laughter and music returned gently, unfolding like the petals of a flower awakened under the sun. Guests, their expressions neutralized of fear, blinked as if emerging from a nightmare, uncertain but unharmed. Emily and I stood resolute, surrounded by light and warmth. The shadowy specters that had once haunted our celebration were defeated, lost in the embrace of our love. As reality settled, I turned to her, grounding myself in the shining truth of her presence beside me. You did it, sweetheart. We did it, I whispered, relief washing over me. I knew we could, she replied, eyes bright with pride. Together, always. The lingering darkness had retreated, but I felt the weight of change shift. I could never be the same after this, neither could she. As we wove back into the throng of guests, smiles broke across faces once painted with confusion, joy flashed through the hall once more, and we embraced those around us. But when I turned to confront my son-in-law, I found the seat he occupied empty, the remnants of his wicked laughter haunting the edges of my mind. Suddenly, a sharp chill raced up my spine. The shadows may have retreated today, but I knew they were patient, capable of lurking in the edges of existence. My promise to Emily rang loud and clear. I would protect her, fight for her every single day, and as we celebrated this new chapter of life, I understood the lesson woven through darkness. The power of our bonds could create light that darkness couldn't fathom. The rest of the night blended into laughter and joy, but I vowed to be vigilant, ready to shield my family against whatever shadows might pause to linger again. This was our life, flawed, yet resilient. Forever joined by the tumult of the past and the hope igniting ahead. If this story resonated with you, subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive tales that will grip your heart. Smash the like button now, show your love and feed the algorithm. Your engagement matters, and flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this ending. What do you think will happen next? Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans like you understand the importance of supporting our channel, so act now.